Good afternoon to you. I am Mark Sudduth with HurricaneTrack.com, and I'm here today to tell you all about this big storm system that looks like it's going to be coming into the west, dropping into the Four Corners region, before finally getting out into the upper plains where it could produce blizzard conditions, a big storm, a lot of dynamics with it, including the threat of severe weather for parts of the south, or at least south of the storm system where all the cold air is. I'll show you that. And 99L, what's the latest on that system? It's December, and yes, we're still monitoring for some potential subtropical or tropical activity out in the Atlantic. A little bit to go over here today, so let's get on with it, shall we? First, the current situation, not too bad, just a few areas of winter weather advisories here and there. I think these are blizzard warnings up here in parts of Montana, and then a few more advisories here in the west there, Washington, Oregon, and parts of California and Nevada. Not a very active pattern right now compared to what's coming. And I'm telling you, this system coming in the next few days, it's going to be something else here. In fact, it's triggered the days 4 and 5, 15% probabilistic area for severe weather for parts of Texas and Oklahoma, western Arkansas, and just a few counties here in southwest Missouri. And yeah, we got to watch this. The dynamics of the system are going to be something else. And then finally, by day 7, I think this is, it shifts down into the deep south there, Arkansas, East Texas, western Mississippi, northern Louisiana. We got to watch this. This system full of energy, and you can see it here outlined on the actual SPC maps. Again, this is the day 7. Let me back it up there to day 6. So day 6, day 7, kind of rare in December to see a day 6 and day 7. That's pretty far out getting introduced on the Storm Prediction Center probabilistic map there. So this storm system definitely could be a big one for a good deal of the western two-thirds of the United States as we get into next week. So let's dive deeper into what we've got. This is the GFS Operational. You're used to me showing you this for hurricanes, but let's look at it from the lower 48 weather perspective. Again, here's the current setup. This is December 7th. A little weak frontal system here over parts of the east. Cold high pressure up here coming out of Canada in the upper Midwest, just dropping into the Dakotas and northern Minnesota. Otherwise, kind of benign right now, but that's going to change. We put this into motion frame by frame, 24 hours out. One wave of energy comes into the west here. This is where I want you to pay attention. Out west over here, and notice too the lack of storms coming in and cutting up the East Coast. This is not the type of setup for big East Coast snowstorms. Instead, we're going to be looking at the west out here, and eventually parts of the Four Corners region, and then the upper plains, as this pattern is more favorable to that as opposed to big-time East Coast events right now. So moving on out to 72 hours. This is Saturday morning. There are the makings. There it comes. This is the setup here. Very heavy rain and snow in Northern California, Southern Oregon. This is going to be a big ticket, major event. Flooding in the burn scar areas, just flooding, period. Small stream, creeks, rivers, whatever, urban flooding. Very heavy snow at the higher elevations. I even saw our friend on social media, and I've met the man in real life, IRL as they say, Jack Sillen, talking about going up into the Sierras to experience this. He's a meteorologist, so hey, why not, right? But this is going to be a very impactful event, and this is actually, if you take the disruptions to us people away, it's good news. It really is. We need all the snowpack, all the rain, all the moisture that we can get out west, and I try to emphasize that weather is not always bad news and doom and gloom and hype and views and ratings and whatnot. Yes, that's part of it, but the other side, you do get these benefits here. And when you see those kind of precipitation values, just what the GFS Operational is outputting at face value, this is a good thing. It really is. Big time snow for the Sierra. You can see that there. There's the spine of the Sierra right there. Jack and his group. I didn't ask him who's going. He said we're heading up there. He said they were already going to be there. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of snow. Lake Tahoe, Truckee, that area. So what happens next? This is really interesting. And two, I don't want to ignore this feature, but it's not nearly the ferocity, if you will, of and the impactfulness of this other system coming in to the western states. So this is 4 days out. This is Sunday morning, and finally we get into Monday, early Monday morning. The storm system starts to eject and move out across the Great Basin into the Rockies, and then a secondary surface low forms in eastern Colorado, advecting. Advection means the lateral, horizontal movement of energy and moisture, and wind in this case. Look at that, feeding off of the warm Gulf. Those isobars extend all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico, so plenty of moisture transport, and the severe weather threat is going to be over here. We'll focus more on that on Friday. I'm going to do another update on Friday, and we'll get a better idea of what the dynamics are for the severe weather threat. But there's our low, not far from southwest Kansas, Oklahoma, Colorado, Texas. I don't know what you call this, not the four corners because they don't meet. But at that junction down there, there's your surface low. The cyclone starts to develop, comma shape to it overall. And then look what happens from here on out. This thing really blossoms. And those deep blues that you see there, the GFS, indicating some very substantial snow rates. And then look, if you know your meteorology, your basic outlines here of the map, what is it showing? Isobars packed tightly together. That's going to be a windy, potential blizzard-producing event for the Dakotas, up into Minnesota perhaps, and maybe even Wisconsin. We'll have to see. Still, this is a week away. That's 1 week. That's a long time in the world of weather for a lot of things to change and morph. Of course, morph is change. You get the idea. This will have a lot of moving parts to it, but the setup is starting to, I mean, this thing's really consistent in the modeling. And just like we track with hurricanes, the details get ironed out the closer that we get to the event. Who's going to be impacted the most? Where could the blizzard conditions set up? How will the travel be impacted? And this is just a heads up. You know, there's a lot of travel going on. We're getting closer to Christmas. We have lots of trucking on our interstate systems going on 365 days out of the year. And this is very big for commerce. Even the rail system, if you get too much in the way of severe weather and very heavy snow, it impacts operations, the ability of the engineers and the train operators to get to where they need to be at these different nodes. Yes, the weather is impactful more, I think, than people really do realize. So we'll be watching this closely, and I am considering, I mean, let's just rewind this a little bit. Look at what happens. It comes into California. You have the Sierra, you got the Four Corners region, and the Rockies, and then it gets out into the plains. There's a lot of opportunities there for somebody like me who really enjoys studying, observing up close and personal, and reporting on big impact weather events such as this. I might be known for hurricanes, but because of a lot of different advancements in our technology and our crowdfunding and different partnerships that we have, I'm able to cover more weather, especially these last almost decade now, almost the last 10 years, really expanding beyond hurricanes. But I take that experience and apply it to these big ticket weather events. Severe weather in the spring, you know the details. You see something 6 days out, it gets closer, you get your slight, your moderate, your high risk, whatever, everything gets fine-tuned. You get the high resolution models as you get closer. But for now, this is just like when we spot a hurricane in the modeling about a week out, and we start to say, hey, look, heads up, this region, something big could be coming, and that's the situation here with this potential. I mean, I think it's going to happen. It's just a matter of who, where, and what the impacts are when it's all said and done. So we'll watch this closely. Again, that's a week out. We'll revisit this on Friday and see what it is by then, because then we'll be within 5 days. All right, now to the tropics real quick, or in this case, the subtropics. We have Invest 99L, still sitting at about a 50-50 shot of further development. It does have a large area of showers and thunderstorms overall. The activity is getting a little bit better organized, so says the National Hurricane Center. There are some chances left here, although time's running out, that this could develop more in the way of a subtropical or tropical look to it. But as is mentioned in the outlook here, this special outlook, there still are some frontal aspects attached to the system. And you can clearly see that right here. It's got some fronts associated with it, just generally drawing it in for you. Not your classic subtropical. So this looks like what this system's going to look like over the plains, but this is out over the ocean. When you see that comma shape on an ocean storm, that's not tropical. It's not even subtropical in nature. But again, I go back to that word, label. These are just labels that we attach to these things as people to keep up with what's what. It just helps us in the grand scheme of things, yes. So if we call it subtropical or non-tropical or extratropical or an ocean storm or a gale center, it does have impacts, and that brings me to this graphic right here, or this tweet, if I can. Where is that tweet? I thought I had a tweet up. Where is it? Yeah, right there. Sorry, it's from TAF B. It threw me off. My fault. The Tropical Analysis and Forecast Branch, they're in charge of all of this stuff too. They work with the Weather Service and the Hurricane Center. And this system, no matter what we call it, and this is the point here, this strengthening storm force low, 99L, that's what we call it right now, in the Central Atlantic, will impact the Atlantic waters and the Caribbean passages through the weekend. Cruise ships, maritime commerce, you name it, those big container ships that are out there, all of it, all the way to the nearshore waters and the offshore waters too, north of 26 North, early Friday through Saturday. This is the marine weather. This is very interesting to see. A huge, huge storm system. We can see that in the modeling here. This is what it looks like at the 850 millibar level. Not real concentrated in there. That's not a subtropical storm. We know that. That's what the Hurricane Center is indicating. But it's got a chance. It might be able to consolidate just enough to become classified or labeled as subtropical storm Owen. But it doesn't matter. It's still going to be a massive ocean storm. Look at how big that is. This is now 72 hours out, and it finally crosses the Atlantic, merges with other features in the atmosphere, and eventually scoots on out, and that is the end of that overall. But just a little bit of a look at that system there. Rewind it here, and I'll show you its evolution from now into the future. And just never really bundles that energy together. Still stays pretty spread out. So I'm guessing this doesn't make it to Owen. And again, that's just a label and a name. The impacts remain the same. We shall see. So yeah, some interesting weather for sure. I'm debating, do I go out there for this? And if I do, where do I go? The Sierra. Jack's going to be there, so we can get some tweets and videos from Mr. Sillin. But the desert Southwest, Flagstaff, seeing heavy snow in Flagstaff, maybe up to the Grand Canyon, parts of northern Arizona. The Grand Staircase, that area up into southern Utah. That's beautiful country, and I've always wanted to see it in snow. I've seen it during the monsoon. And then there's that, the title card that I've made here, that potential blizzard. But, driving, flying, I'm not driving from North Carolina, but I'm saying, like, if I drive to Denver, do I drive up into the Dakotas, do I fly into Fargo? I got to fly out, because late next week I have a very important family obligation that is not negotiable. I have to do it. It's a good thing. I love my family. I'm just saying, I got a hard bookend there around next weekend that I can't fudge with. So this storm is going to be very intriguing for yours truly, but I wanted to make you aware of it as well. We'll know more by Friday, and I might be able to solidify one way or the other my plans as to whether or not I'm going to go out and do some ground reporting on this system or not. We'll see. We'll let sort of nature dictate and sort of we'll let fate decide, as I like to say often. All right, that's it from me. Let me get this online for you. As always, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, hey, subscribe to the channel, HurricaneTrack. We're active during hurricane season, yes. But all-season stuff, yes, as well. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, like I said, and hit that notification bell if you want to be notified by YouTube that Mark, HurricaneTrack, put up a video. All right, pretty simple stuff. Have a good rest of your Wednesday. I'll be back with you on Friday. Again, I'm Mark Sudduth. We'll talk again in a couple of days.